I've just been down to Cambridge 105 radio station to do an interview on my government petition, and here it is. I recorded it on my phone at the same time. So here we go. This afternoon. Now, though, a Cambridge shopkeeper has launched a petition to force police to attend every shoplifting incident. We're told that cases have gone up locally by 47% in the last 12 months. Neil Mackay is from Mackay's on East Road, one of the shops, I guess, which has borne the brunt of a lot of this, Neil, over not just the past few months, but I think over the past few years as well.
I've been campaigning on the subject for about 10 years, Julian.
Have you noticed, I guess, over 6, 12 months, has there been a change in the kind of people, if you spot somebody, if you catch somebody in the act, as it were, are they the same sort of people who would have been doing that 12, 18 months ago, or are you seeing a change?
No, not necessarily a change. I mean, last week we did have 2 people pitch up in the shop they came armed with cable cutters to cut the security tags, to cut the cables that were holding down. We've now chained down our power tools to make it even more difficult for them to steal. We have very, very clear CCTV footage of those 2, which have now been supplied. I supply every element of footage that I can to the police of any CCTV of any crime that's committed in our shop. A lot of people have stopped doing that. Over the years I've been campaigning on this. I've come across people, quite a lot of large organisations. The British Retail Consortium produce every year a retail crime report in which they tend to play it down. It's in their interest to play it down that crime of this sort takes place in their stores. But even they now are beginning to realise, because margins are getting squeezed, there's inflation, their turnovers going down, all of a sudden they are now coming out and fighting against this.
So what happens if a shoplifter comes into the store? Do you go as far as to try and apprehend them and keep them there for the police?
Well, I have, over the years, built up a bank of CCTV stills, screen grabs from my CCTV, which I put on posters. Sadly, I have to put lines across their faces so the members of the public can't identify them, but my staff have seen the images and know them, so we get to know the type of people, and we're very wary. My staff are very good at spotting the sort of actions of and the suspicious ways of.
Do you get repeat offenders who come back for another go?
Yeah, you do, and to a certain extent, sadly, because I stick my head above the parapet and talk about these things, I almost think I become a bit of a target, or is it a badge of honour from their point of view to come and try and nick from Neil Mackay. But I am determined that the crime of shop theft is not, as so often put out, that it's a victimless crime. It's far from that. If I have something stolen, at average retail margins, as across the board, or everything, if something's stolen from a shop, it actually takes, would you believe, 12 sales, actual sales to real, genuine customers, to get back just to where we started from. Now, that's before I start making a profit, which we need to generate to pay our staff and wages and overheads and pay the rates, etc. So we need to change the public's perception of the crime. It needs to be regarded as the lowest of the low, quite frankly, as beyond contempt.
And the thing, you mentioned power tools, is that normally what they go for?
No, they go for everything. I've got posters up for one chap who actually, we've got the CCTV footage of him emptying a weed killer into his pocket. I did go to the extent of finding out whether the weed killer was poisonous to somebody if they actually got it on their hands. which it wasn't, in fact. But so he emptied it, and then he put the packet back on the shelf. We've got people who've stolen, would you believe, charity boxes. We are, it's
an unfortunate target, isn't it? That's,
well, that is the lowest.
Awful thing to do, of course.
Yeah.
I've seen them sitting on your sitting on your counter there.
We're trying to do the best we can for the charities, and some low life comes and
when do you call the police? What is their response? Do you still call the police?
I always call the police. I always do. It takes time, because the most recent incident I had, which it's almost amusing, because I arrived on site. A chap broke through our door and he targeted knives. Now, I've been down to New Scotland Yard to talk to the top brass in London about how to reduce the access to knives for miscreants. It's very difficult. How do you tell what somebody's going to do with it? Virtually everything in my shop could potentially be a weapon. That's awful. So this particular person, I arrived on site 2 minutes later, rang 999, thinking he might be in the area, and I was told, can you give me a description? I said, well, I haven't seen the CCTV yet. Oh, well, ring 101. I rang 101, and she put me through to the 999 operator I'd just spoken to, who told me to ring 101. 45 minutes later, I was still online trying to report this, and in the time it took, the thief cycled up to the window and peered in to check whether anybody answered the alarm, and then cycled away. And last year we had two young youths came in and they broke into our fireworks department, which was unmanned at that time of the year, and they went away with some explosives. I couldn't get the police actually interested.
And the CCTV pictures, those photographs that you say that you've had to blank out the faces, they're sort of, because we know that photographs are incredibly sharp these days. Your CCTV is
absolutely the one last week, the power tool thieves, as he's going out the door, he turns his neck and his girlfriend's name is tattooed down his neck.
And that's gone to the police.
That's gone to the police.
And what happens then? Because we know that there are repeat offenders, so surely they can match them up.
Yeah, absolutely, and they do. They do it. I do get people come back. The fireworks thieves, actually, one of them got caught last year, and they reopened the case. And I'm not sure quite what's happened to him. But they do come back to me. I'm not knocking the police. They have a job to do, and it's very, very difficult for them to operate. They are restricted in their resources. So it's a dilemma. If we allow shop crime to go unchallenged and unreported, it'll become like the Wild West.
I think I mentioned this on the radio before. There's a supermarket which I'll go to from time to time, and increasingly I've noticed that wine bottles, and not expensive wine, just £8 bottle of wine is now security tagged, as are things like steak. Now, obviously, I go out to the store and I actually pay before I leave. But I noticed that the tag will set off some sort of alarm. I turn around, being as thinking I'm guilty, even though I've done nothing wrong at all. But nobody's chasing after me or anything. And I did query about this, and this particular store say it's national policy not to go after me, which kind of wondered if it saved the money, though not putting the tags on the first place.
Sadly, that is a situation in a lot of places. I had a discussion with an organisation which is involved in shop theft crime, trying to deal with it, and the person I was speaking to reported that a shop in the centre of Cambridge, this was just prior to Christmas one year, had £40,000 worth of product nicked in 6 weeks. And their head office told them not to report it to the police because it wasn't worth management time.
I guess also you could question, I don't know, this is an awful thing to say really, because if you add it up, it is a lot of money, as you've outlined this morning. But the police are very stretched, and they're very busy, and they might be thinking that their resources are better, say, put into county lines or something like that, rather than the shoplifting. however difficult it might be for somebody like you. And
Well, it's a dilemma. But I have my petition, which is petition number 644795, which asks that the police are required to attend every shop theft. Back in 2014, the Antisocial Behaviour Act and Crime Act, the police were actually given advice that there was a sort of level which they could treat crime as a summary offence and deal with it by post. Quite frankly, I think if we continue on that the last two Home Secretaries have both said, no, the police should turn out. They've both made statements. Priti Patel
the decision is made, I think, at the local level, isn't it?
It
is
is.
Something that the Home Secretary can actually order them to do directly.
I speak to Daryl Preston, our police commissioner, who does a fantastic job. But he says, oh, well, the police have got to prioritise their budgets. I believe if we go down that route, we're going to finish up with a Wild West situation. A bit like in California, where literally shops are now closing because they can no longer get insurance. They can no longer, it's a big story over in California. Massive chain stores are actually closing.
And the petition, if people want to sign up, presumably you've got copies in Mackay's. Is there an online version?
There is. I've got a QR code. If you go in our shop,
hold it up to the microphone.
Yeah. Great. Oh, yes. Is it a colour microphone? No, I have my QR code, which is all over our shop. On every counter, they've got the QR. Just hold up your phone to it. It'll scan it, and you can go straight through to the petition and sign up. And don't forget that once you've done that, they will send you an email. So you have to, before your signature is accepted, you have to actually respond to the email. But make sure you do that. And the objective is, I don't know how many we'll get to support us, but if on these government petitions, if it gets to a certain level, the government say that they will give you a response. If it gets to an even higher level, they will have a debate. Now, I think the whole subject needs to be kept as high as possible in the public consciousness.
We'll follow that closely over the next few weeks and see how well it does. I suspect it might be one which gets quite a few signatures. Quickly, Neil, before we let you go, you'll have heard in our news this morning that county councillors have been debating the future of transport policy, and at that meeting there were some councillors who basically not ruling out congestion charging in Cambridge in the future. You've campaigned quite vociferously over recent months about the congestion charge. Do you think it's inevitable that we will get a charge one day?
No, it's not inevitable, but I fully expect the politicians to come up with those sort of statements. In recent days, they've been saying that, the time is not right. Well, quite frankly, I have my banners and my posters, and we can organise marches and we can organise speeches. We will get out there. We will unfurl them as soon as we hear a whiff of their going down that direction.
Okay, well, Neil Mackay, thank you very much for joining us this morning. That petition in the Mackay store on East Road. Go in there, scan that QR code if you want to support that campaign, force police to come out to every shoplifting incident